So like some of you out there, I had the TurboGrafx 16 Mini pre-ordered. I never owned a TurboGrafx 16 in the day, and I still don't, although I do have a nice Duo RX in my lineup that is region modded to play both PC Engine and TurboGrafx 16 games. I was looking forward to having a TurboGrafx, if only in mini form, until all of this craziness started and it ended up getting postponed. I then saw that the PC Engine Mini was still shipping, and to be honest, I did waffle on which model to get in the first place, so I decided to just go for it and grab the PC Engine version while I wait out the TurboGrafx 16 model. If you're familiar at all with mini consoles, and by now, who isn't, you won't find anything terribly surprising here. You're getting a nice box that is designed as an homage to the original, and inside that box you'll find your mini emulator-based console, a controller, an HDMI cord, and a USB cable. You'll note that I did say a controller. You only get one of these, and that's a little off-putting considering the ticket price is $100, but hopefully that's the only downside. Well, that one controller is also missing the turbo sliders. Now to be fair, there is a version of the original PC Engine controller that didn't have those either, so we could say that this is modeled after the original. However, the official Hori controller for the Mini in the same style does in fact have the turbo sliders. So could they not have just tossed us a bone here and given us that version in the box? Looking over the unit itself, it's pretty cool and well designed in my opinion. It really does look like a shrunken PC Engine with all the subtle details you'd expect. The color is also not an overly bright white, it's a little muted and looks to be on par with the original. So booting this up, here is where this thing really shines. The user interface is just gorgeous in my opinion. Now I'll grant you that a lot of this is heavily borrowed from what Nintendo did with their layout, and then SNK even tried to copy for their Mini and Arcade Stick Pro. But let's pause there because you know I love SNK, but think about how watered down and lifeless their menus feel in comparison to this. Now, one is copying a successful formula done right, and the other is the same concept at heart, but very lackluster. Konami definitely nailed this. Now I know you guys have probably already seen this a dozen times, but I love the animation of the hue card being inserted into the console when you select a game. Similarly, the same thing happens for CD-based games, complete with the spin-up sound. These are the types of things that add charm, and that's really important for a mini console to have in order to distinguish itself from something that's actually trying to win you over versus just another cash grab. The other really cool thing Konami did was clearly distinguish the US TurboGrafx 16 games that are included by giving them their own menu. So once again, a nice subtlety, same user interface of course, but with the black TG16 theme. These games then of course play in English. I'm not even sure where to tell you to begin here. Most of these titles are pretty great, and I really like the Newtopia games, and they're giving you both of them here. If you ever wished you could re-experience Zelda for the first time, this might be the closest you can get. The system is known for its shooters, and you have some classics here like Blazing Lasers, Air Zonk, Soldier Blade, and the only CD-based game on the TurboGrafx side, Lords of Thunder. On that note, I am mildly disappointed we weren't given the R-Type CD collection, and instead we're given the first installment on HuCard. Hopefully that's an issue we will be able to solve ourselves in the coming weeks though. Flipping back to the PC Engine side of things, you have 34 titles, some of which are just the Japanese versions of games that are also included on the TurboGrafx menu, Newtopia 1 and 2 for example. But of course, you're also treated to some PC Engine exclusives, two of which I know people were very amped about, the first being a great port of Ninja Gaiden, and the second being Rondo of Blood. Both of these titles run fairly well, but aren't perfect, so if you can manage to temper expectations, you might not be too disappointed. I own original copies of both of these games, and I can notice a hint of lag while playing Ninja Gaiden. That's generally to be expected with emulator options like minis, but it can make things problematic for timing-based games like this, and certainly for a lot of the shooters that are on this system. I'm certainly not an expert on all things PC Engine by any stretch, so the degree to which this bothers you may vary, but I'm slightly disappointed. Overall, the games themselves look pretty good though, and like other mini consoles, the games are rendered at 720p. I keep holding out hope that someone will step up and give us a 1080p option, but I know that that can be problematic from a horsepower standpoint, as well as some of the filters and shaders that are sometimes used, which makes 720p a safer choice generally. Still, I did notice a fair amount of shimmering with the PC Engine Mini, and it was particularly distracting on the first stage of R-Type. Now, when I was configuring my settings, I changed from the default display mode, the first option, to the second option, which maximizes the picture in a 4:3 aspect ratio. I thought it might have something to do with that, so I switched back to the default setting. The shimmering is still noticeable, but I think it's marginally better, if only because the picture is slightly smaller. I tried one more time with the third option, which I assume is pixel perfect. It produced similar results as the default setting. I can still notice the shimmering, but it's less drastic than when I use the 4:3 fill screen setting. All this to say, I think the best compromise overall is the default display setting. Shocker, right? Here's a clip of R-Type running on original hardware and then scaled to 480p by the RetroTink 2X. You can see that the effect is greatly reduced, if even present at all. In case you were wondering, the other two options you have are the 16:9 stretch mode, which if you're using, you should just quit watching my channel because you're dead to me. And then there's the Turbo Express setting, which is cute from a novelty standpoint, but not very practical. So sure, I pointed out the shimmering, and I was a little fussy about the one controller, and there is definitely some lagginess with the controls. So overall, this is a mini console that was physically modeled well, but it has a few shortcomings under the hood. The one controller does actually feel legit compared to my original. It's very authentic. The game selection on both sides of the fence is really good. The UI is professional and has that sense of charm to it. And there are even some hidden Easter eggs here and there, which I'm sure will be posted and shown online as they are discovered. The shortcomings are definitely the inclusion of only one controller, the lack of turbo sliders on said controller, some screen shimmering on quite a few titles, and then of course the dreaded input lag on a number of games that require precision. With a $100 price tag, that leaves me in a tough spot with the PC Engine Mini because there are some things it definitely gets right, but then it falls short on perhaps the most important element there is: gameplay. So do I need both the PC Engine and TurboGrafx minis? Of course not, and I'm a little gun shy of having the other on order now, but having both will give me a second controller for the friends that I don't have and a wife who doesn't game, and if, or more likely when, this gets a proper hack, I'll load the PC Engine up with Japanese-only titles and the TurboGrafx 16 up with the US-based games. So I do have a plan. All that said, feel free to leave comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you all next time. Later, guys.